Hello. Welcome again to Stuck in a Rundown with Coach Let's Go.
No, let's go.
Today we want to talk about something that's really important about the baseball game. One of the most important things that people talk about, or don't talk about, I should say, in baseball is the mental side of the game. Especially with young athletes like Little Let's Go. Our coaches in rec league and sometimes even our club ball want to talk about, this kid can rake, this kid, he's got an arm, and they got this and they got that. But no matter how physically gifted they are, if their mental game isn't there, we don't have a prayer. You can be 12 years old, 11 years old, and throw a 65, 70 mile an hour fastball. But if your brain isn't the right place, all we're going to do is throw a really hard ball that everyone says, wow, that kid has a game, but he just walked 4 kids. We can have a kid that can hit the ball 250 feet at 11 years old in practice, but can never fulfill that in the game. So let's talk about a little bit about the mental side of the game. Recently, I did share a letter that came from a parent from about 7-8 years ago that was talking about her local organization and what she felt was the shortcomings of it. And one of the things that she made an incredible point was our local organizations, coaches, don't tell parents where to find training, and we're going to talk about that a little bit too. So I want to talk about the mental side of the game. Hitting a baseball is one of the hardest things in the world that we can possibly do. Getting out there in front of a bunch of screaming, crazy parents sometimes in rec ball and club ball can be insane. But we put little Let's Go's at 11 years old, or even 8, 9, 10 years old, they've got to cope and deal with those things. And often what happens in young athletes' minds is we talk about in their brains, I don't want to strike out. I don't want to make an error. I don't want to walk somebody. Or they might have a more positive approach and say, I'm just going to throw strikes. I'm not going to walk anybody. I am going to make the play. I'm not going to make an error, but they're still using that terminology. They're saying strikeout. They're saying walk. They're saying error. And once a young athlete, or any person for that matter, says that word, it's going to happen. So a shout out to Coach Clint McGill, Baseball Notes. I don't get anything for referencing him, and Little Let's Go is going to figure out how to put his link and way to buy his program. It's called Bulletproof Hitter. Coach Clint talks a lot about the mental game and how kids need to deal with that mental game. And being a former player and current coach as I am, I agree 100%. In fact, I used a lot of these tools from great coaches that taught me how to succeed and not how to try not to fail. So it's how to succeed, not how to try not to fail. If we try not to fail, we will fail. Every young athlete needs to know that if you try not to fail, if you think about not striking out, you will strike out. If you think about not making an error, you will make an error. If you think about walking a bunch of kids, you will walk a bunch of kids. So I'm going to ask Little Let's Go, from Coach Clint's program, what's the greatest thing that you learned there from the mental side of the game?
So there is one thing that he talked about. It was called Self 1 and Self 2. So Self 1, Self 2, he explained it's like the doer. And Self 1, I forget what word he used, but it was like he always tells Self 2 what to do. And he always wants to just take part or do everything that he's telling him to do. So like, and he says, if you're thinking about too much, like saying like, I don't want to walk or stuff, he's saying that like, that's what Self 1 is, keep telling to like, so Self 2 is what you learned in practice. and like just what your body wants to do. But Self One's tying him like he's like saying all these worries and stuff. And Coach Clint was saying that like say something like singing a song in your head that's like, kind of distracting Self One, so Self Two can like do what he trained to do.
So what we talk a lot about for coaches and try to help coaches to teach young athletes is we work and practice. We have fun at the game, right? And that's kind of where Self One and Self Two are for young athletes, isn't it? Is we do all this work. If we only play 2 games in a week, for example, but we practice 5 days a week, so 7 days we did something, right? All that work we put into practice, we have to let those voices go away. In the game, we shouldn't think, should we?
No.
No, you just let your body take over. You let your natural ability take over. And where I think coaches really need to get better at teaching kids is what Grant had referred to. And that's, do you sing a song when you go up to the plate? No, I can tell you as a player, I did. I didn't want to think about, I got to look out for that curveball. I got to look out for that curveball. This kid's got a wicked curve. Or, man, this guy throws smoke. I better be early. I didn't think about those things. I just went to the plate and let my natural ability take over. And that's what athletes really need to do. And coaches, we have to free up their brains. We have to free up their minds to just let them know that we did all the work already. We went to practice. We worked on hitting the ball oppo and extending our arms, and we worked off the tee. Grant does a drill all the time where we just hit the ball to the ground to second base. And what's that teach him? It teaches him to extend his arms so he doesn't throw that front shoulder and get in trouble in a real game. But if Grant's thinking about throwing the front shoulder, or if he goes up to the plate and says, oh, if I throw that front shoulder, I'm going to hit it off the end of the bat and it's going to be a pop up to second base, then guess what's going to happen, Grant?
Pop up second to second
Pop
base.
up to second base, right? So it's the mental side of the game that we really need to look at. And again, this coach Clint McGill, oh my gosh, I've never seen anything like it, but I've learned it. I've had some great players and coaches in my life that kind of helped me work on that as I was coming up as a ball player. And I was certainly working on it with Little Let's Go. So we have to make sure that the kids understand that anytime we put a thought in our head, it's going to happen. It's just the way life works. Parents and coaches, I don't know, maybe you sell something and you're like, oh my goodness, if I don't hit my quota this month, I don't know how I'm going to pay the bills. Well, guess what? You're not going to hit your quota, right? So we just need to clear our minds as baseball players and go up to the plate, go out into the field where we've done the work, so now I'll just let everything take over. Everything can go over. And that's where baseball becomes really fun. But the mental aspect of the game just has to be there. Like Grant's talking about Self One, Self Two. There's 2 voices. It's the angels. It's the devil and the angel that sit in your shoulder and they're both whispering in your ear. Which one do we want to listen to? Well, I'll tell you in a game, don't listen to either. In practice, go ahead and listen to them. You get rid of those demons. You get rid of those thoughts in practice. And you learn how to really fulfill those things. The second point that I wanted to make is there are resources out there. Baseball Notes by Clint McGill to really, really drive those things home. Again, Little Let's Go, we'll try to put something up, but, this is a headband that I get from Elite Sports. Go to coachletsgo.com and you can see how to get those things. But just a little thing like that, or a rubber bracelet, so they can look down at the game to clear their head or sing a song. Like Grant said, if he's singing Baby Got Back whenever he gets up to the plate, he's not going to be thinking, I don't want to strike out. He's just going to let everything take over. So the whole point to Stuck in a Rundown today is the mental game. And coaches, parents, are we teaching our kids the mental game? Do we go up there with a clear mind? Do we hit the plate with a clear mind? Do we hit the field with a clear mind? Do we take the mound with a clear mind and let all the work that we've done throughout the week, throughout the past months, for whatever we've done, do we let that take over when we're on the field? Coaches have to do a better job of teaching their kids to clear their mind in a game and play the game that they're blessed to play and know how to play. That's all we got this week for Stuck in a Rundown. Talk to you soon.